Hello.
Yay. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Karina. I'm
I'm
so
so
glad we were able to
excited.
come together for this Canva summer showcase so that we can talk to you guys all about podcasting. So we are really fun and funny. So, we should start a podcast. So this
We
is using
should.
Canva for student created podcasts. Hey,
Yay.
that's us. So my name is Rachael Welsh. I'm a school librarian in Texas. I'm on the Gulf Coast, and my Instagram handle is at Rachael Reads. Karina
Sorry, it's my turn. Yeah, there we
is
go.
getting a beverage.
I,
Okay.
my name's Dr. Karina Quilantan-Garza, or just Dr. Q. And you can follow me on social media at Q the Librarian. I am a former middle school, I could say that now. I'm a former middle school library media specialist. I'm now a professor at San Jose State University for library science and technology programs.
Yes. So if you are seeking your school librarianship or you have any questions, then definitely reach out to Dr. Q and
Yes,
think
please
about
do.
the Sam Houston library program. They have one that is specific for school libraries. It's really cool. So now we're going to talk about podcasts. So why should we use podcasts? Why should we encourage them for our students? Why is this something that schools and especially school libraries should think about? So this amplifies student voice. This gives students a platform to express their opinions, passions, and ideas in a meaningful way. They are familiar with podcasts. This might be something that would be good for students that don't necessarily thrive in a traditional assessment. This allows all of our storytellers, they get to do interviews, they get to make commentary. So this is how you can show that they have received the information and have processed it, comprehend it in a different way that's not writing a paper. I'm at work. That's not writing a paper and the traditional, kind of research project. It also allows them to have ownership and pride because they are creating content, not just consuming it. This is something that they can share with their teachers, share with their friends, something that their parents can listen to. So it's going to give them a lot more ownership of something that's more than just writing a paper. This is supporting their literacy and research skills. Whenever I do podcasts, and I won't know when Karina did them in the library, you have to do research first. I did not allow anybody to do any recording before they had their research. So you're having to read, write, listen, and speak in an authentic context. So this is really helping our research skills, citing sources, find our source in the show notes. They loved saying that. It was so much fun. And how you're able to synthesize information for different ways. It's not just a rote recitation of stuff that they have seen on a database. They are getting the research and putting it together in a unique way. We're encouraging critical thinking and clarity in their communication because they have to have their ideas that make sense. When you speak, it's a lot different for our students to kind of hear themselves speaking and make things make more sense than when they're writing. Because we all know those kids that are writing, and when you're reading it, you're like, what on earth? Like, where did we go from here? Like, what happened? So this is something that is going to help them and help them with their community building too, because they're creating these narratives. It also builds our 21st century digital skills. This is introducing kids to audio recording, editing software, and potentially publishing platforms, depending on what the intention for these podcasts could be. We're getting real world skills. Again, we're doing that community building, our collaboration, planning, time management that I still have to work on. And then our digital citizenship, how we get this information out, how they, are creating it and putting it into their own words, and adaptability and problem solving, which again ties in with our community building. And it reimagines the library as a creative space. So we are librarians. This is something that we have done in our library programs in conjunction with teachers, yes, but also sometimes just on our own. So this is reinforcing the library as a hub for innovation, collaboration, and student-centered learning. They are making the product 100%. We are expanding our programming options and attracting new groups of students who might not otherwise engage in the library, especially if you're lucky enough to have a dedicated space for this. I know some librarians are able to have, little studios in their setup. Our friend Lauren Mobley, who is a high school librarian in Georgia, she moved into a brand new building and they built in a podcasting studio into her library, and it's gorgeous. We do not have that. And so we will talk about, kind of our not as our more
Workarounds.
economical,
Yeah.
our thriftier tools. We're also building partnerships with teachers, tech specialists, and community members. When my students did their podcasting, I made sure that I sent it out to all of the teachers, sent it to our admin, and then we were able to do links that their parents were able to come in and watch. It's not a video, and listen to them also.
You want me to take this one?
Yeah, this one's yours, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. So there's different ways, there's different tools that students can participate in the podcast creation projects. It doesn't necessarily mean that the students have to start from scratch or that they have to go and put on like a full Hollywood, type of production. The kids, for the most part, are really interested in podcasts. I didn't realize this until this past year when we really started diving into different voice tools. It's something that helps them with their language assessment for the state that we have to do in Texas. I'm not sure about other states, but in Texas, the students not just have a content assessment at the end of the year, but also a language assessment. So one of the questions I get asked a lot by the teachers is, what tools are out there that I can use or that they can use? So the students are practicing recording their voice and responding to either prompts, literature, or just for creative projects. So the different ways that I've told the teachers that they could use podcasting as a strategy, as a method to get kids comfortable with the microphone is for them to create micro podcasts. And in this case, those podcasts are about certain topics depending on what they're studying, and they're no longer than 3 to 5 minutes. Something short, something straight to the point. And the reason that they're structured that way is because there's a certain framework that they follow for their writing. So if they're recording their response, it's a lot easier to kind of like help facilitate what that real testing strategy is going to look like when it actually comes down to it at the end of the year. Students creating news features, when they're going over radio plays in class, be it in the English class or in the drama class, that's something they've done before. Teacher podcast announcements, students can record their own voice that they can create, that they can record on the slides that they've created on Canva and post it in their learning management systems, be it, what's the one you use? Canvas,
Yeah.
Google Classroom. Podcasting can be, of course, for response to literature, response to research, of course. And in the library, it's a lot of book talking. And you can attach the QR code, print it out, put it right next to the books. So students have that, I guess, that accessible feature to the book talks, because you're a librarian, you're super busy, you're not going to be able to stop everything that you're doing, but the students can scan to audio book talk created by the students themselves, and that's like a really fun thing. And what I really do like using podcasting for, at least in the library, and what I've really encouraged the teachers to do is for student personal reflection. They'll notice that at the beginning of the year, their production value is pretty bad because they're just starting. And then by the end of the year, they have this really great portfolio of audio responses. And you can definitely tell from the first recording to the last recording how confident the students are, how comfortable they are behind the microphone, and how much their writing techniques have really flourished because of that practice. So those are just some of the different ways, and we're going to get into some examples in just a bit.
I love that. I love the idea of using it as a portfolio. That is so smart.
And
You
speaking of
want,
portfolio,
you want to talk about this a
well,
little bit before we play it?
yeah, you should be able to hear it, right? I think. Yeah, okay.
Should be.
Well, okay. I always say I'm like the worst librarian ever because I'm so bad at book talking. Like it's the worst. I'm the type of person who will read a book and then 5 minutes later I totally forget what it's
Oh yeah, yeah.
about, characters, places,
I'm
but I
like, just trust
can
me,
tell
just read
you,
it. It's great.
yes,
Go
just
off the
trust me.
vibes.
This
Yeah.
is go off. Exactly. I'm all about the vibes.
Yeah.
But if you
It's
ask
good.
me
I promise.
specifics,
Don't ask
yeah,
me why. Yeah.
it's horrible. So what I did was, because work smarter, not harder, I asked my library ambassadors or any student who was willing to record a book talk for the library. And by the end of the year, we had like a huge collection of videos that we would post in the library's Google Classroom so that, and it was great because then it would go by seasons, right? So if, 1 month we didn't have a chance to record one, we had one from the previous year, we could, put out that book recommendation. But the specific student made the template on Canva with the book title, the author, and the book cover. And we tried to pair it with, or we tried to, align it and connect it to what was happening during that month. So in this case, I think it's like Christmas. And we would share it on Wednesdays and we would call it what should I read Wednesday? And we would post that on social media, the library's LMS, and I would share it with the teachers too so they could show it in their classes. Can you hear it?
I can.
I
Can
can.
you hear it?
No,
Oh,
that's
well,
weird.
I could hear it on my screen, but it's
Oh,
really cute.
that's good. Well, I think we link the slides to this, right? Later. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So as Rachel had mentioned, one of the ways that you can use podcasting in the library is also to connect to research. Because my students are in Texas, what we refer to as emergent bilingual students, which is just another word for English as a second language. My students really struggle with the written word, right? Their native language is Spanish for the most part, and I have to provide them with sentence stems and kind of like a graphic organizer, so to speak, where they can fill in the information for the topic that they are researching. So when it came down to podcasts, I decided, well, why don't we do that as a script? So I created a podcast script for Women's History Month, which happens in March. And the students would practice either using Canva or Adobe Express, sorry, or Adobe Podcast. They would use the script to fill out the information for the person that they were researching. So if you click on it and you see, there's a guide as to what to say, and then depending on who they choose, then the content will change, right? The little fill in the blank portions. So not only did it allow everybody to kind of have the same structure, but also the students felt more creative and they didn't want to stick to the script. It was totally fine for them to deviate from it. At least it was something structured that I knew that at the end they were gonna have a product versus just sitting there and not knowing what to write.
Yeah, that's always the first thing is I don't know how to start. So this is really key is to give them something. And like Karina said, eventually they will be able to, like once they get used to it, if you're, reinforcing these habits. All right. So there are several different types of podcasts. One of is this clickable? Oh, it is. Oh, hey, look at me. So this is so sorry. So this is
Technology. 21st century skills. Future
I was
ready
like, why?
librarians.
Why is this underlined? Oh, look, I linked something.
I'm dying. I love it.
Oh Lord. Okay, so this was what I did to introduce my podcast. So at our school we have something called mini courses, which is something that's completely outside of curriculum. The teachers get to choose stuff that they're interested in and present it. And the kids get to learn for about 6 weeks. So I did one on podcasting. And so this was what I showed the kids. And I'm going to click through real fast. So there are different styles of podcasting. Did you know that podcast started in the early 2000s?
I
It's a
did.
combination of iPod and broadcast.
I know.
I
Isn't
remember
that
when Apple
wild?
that's how old we are. So here are the different types of podcasts. So there's interview style shows where one person is interviewing somebody else. There's storytelling or a narrative driven podcast. So a lot of our true crime podcasts where you are telling the story. There's news and current events, you know, dystopian in these days. Then there's educational podcasts where you are just teaching somebody about something, and then comedy. So these were the ones that I told the kids that they got to choose from. They were, this is help. Okay, how do I get back to this? Let's do it.
The original slides, I think, are on the second tab, no?
I know, but
Or what are
when
you
I
talking
want,
about?
oh no, I got it. Okay, I'm good. I'm smart. Okay. I figured it out. Okay. So I let the kids pick what style they wanted to do. Most of them wanted to do interview. So if your teachers have decided to do this as a research one, then obviously you would have the educational. Or if you are doing this as announcements, then you would have the news or current event style. My kids all wanted to do interview because they loved the idea of interviewing their teachers, their students, or their friends. Then they get to choose their topic. Again, if it is for a class, then it is, something that the teacher is deciding. For my kids, they got to choose what they wanted. So I had one group that did, theirs was called The Path of Math, because they were researching, they loved math, these sweet little baby nerds. So they researched different mathematicians and talked about different math formulas. They interviewed their friends on their favorite math formula, which I was like, I didn't know that people even had favorite math formulas. They interviewed their math teachers about why they liked math so much. We had one group that did conspiracy theories, of course. So they did research on each episode was a different conspiracy theory, and then they would interview their friends on what they thought. So they would present what the two different sides were and then interview people. And then my absolute favorite was one. So this was a group of sixth graders. So they did one called Fifth Grade Madness, which was advice for the fifth graders coming up. So about school dances, about now they have lockers in the middle school, about all sorts of different things for the school, which was really cute. And then we already talked about style. So tools needed. As we mentioned, some people are very blessed in the budget department and have microphones and mixers and special space. We are not fortunate at all. We are not
I
blessed.
we
We are not.
rely on grants and donors
Mhm.
choose.
Yes, but luckily you do not need any special equipment to do this other than Canva education. You are able to, kids can record straight on their school devices. They can record straight on their cell phones, probably not at school in Texas because our state legislature just banned cell phones in schools. But if they were to do this as a homework project, they can record their voices and upload it to Canva as a voice file. So you do not need anything special. So don't think that just because you don't have microphones or a fancy studio that your students can't participate in this. So let's talk about, so these are the scripts that we talked about. And then one thing I want to bring up, if you do have teachers that are doing this as a class, so this is something that I got from our friend Lauren. And so this is a rubric. So sometimes doing things that are creative are a little bit difficult to grade or to, validate. So this is a very simple, either you have it or you don't. So this is just a rubric that you can go off of that is pretty simple if you're doing one that's not, overly scripted or saying like it has to have these things. And then when we are recording, so again, you can record straight to Canva. You can upload your voice through a voice file. What are some other ways you've used Canva, Karina?
Well, because the students are camera shy, we usually just do the audio. If they don't mind including the video, then that's fine. But we've done the following. Either they'll record the video directly on their Chromebook and then upload the video to Canva, or they record the audio on something called Vocaroo, download the audio and then upload it. Just so that the audio is already embedded into the slide, and then they can add the graphics and whatever else that they want to do without necessarily having to do the recording function within Canva.
Yeah, so if you are not familiar, the upload section right here, now you're going to see all of the things that I've uploaded. So when you click on uploads, you can click the record yourself and record straight from there, or you can upload video, you can upload audio. And then like Karina mentioned, you can have it on a slide, have it on a video that they can then have that voice sound go to for however you're planning to share it. If you are planning to publish this, then you can use an RSS feed. So if you have, like a school podcast, Lauren Mobley has a school podcast that her students use. And so they publish it on, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Our students are too young. They are not able to participate in that. Plus we're using it as a school project. So everything that we do is in-house and is a closed circuit. Occasionally we'll have the view only Canva link that I'll share with, like our upper administration, or we'll share in my Canvas page that the parents can see. But other than that, I keep everything closed. But you do have those options if that's something that, if you're wanting to create like an announcements or something, upload them onto YouTube, excuse me, you do have those options because you can download it through Canva also.
And one thing that I thought was very, very interesting was, as a librarian, our immediate thoughts are to facilitate this process with the students, right? But there's nothing preventing us from potentially asking teachers to create their own best practice podcasts, or to use podcasts as a form of professional development for teachers as well, giving them a choice board of different episodes or different series that maybe they could dive into. And instead of having a book club, kind of like a podcast club specifically for teachers or even for students. So it doesn't necessarily have to come from a creator's standpoint. You don't necessarily have to go all in and create these really elaborate podcasts, but just using the medium itself to facilitate the learning process can be very powerful.
Yeah, I think our friend Amanda Hunt did that with her teachers as professional development.
Yes.
She would create little podcasts and send them out. So that's a really great idea for librarians to be able to utilize that. So yay, that is a wrap. Thank you guys so much thank you for listening to our podcast. If you have any further questions, again, this is us on social media at Rachael Reads for me. That is where I am on Instagram. Dr. Q is at Q the Librarian, CUE, not the letter Q. And then you can tune into our podcast anywhere you get your podcast. We have Shelf 133. It is a spooky, cute podcast. We are going through and revisiting all of the fun, spooky media from our childhoods in the 90s.
And we need to record another episode.
I was going to say, we need to do an episode pretty soon. But yay, thank you guys so much. Again, if you have any questions, reach out and have fun creating.
Bye.